So I just want to thank everyone for sticking through me with that first video. Definitely had a lot of kinks to work out, but I think that in the end, I'm actually really proud of it. There's things that went wrong. I cannot begin to tell you how many different times I recorded it. My initial plan had been for it to be more of a reaction to the movie than an actual analysis. There's some really fun stuff that I lost as a result, like the very real reaction to me finding out that one of the Rom's names was Iron Face.
Iron
There's
Face.
some really natural laughter from me there, but I forgot that that was the character's name.
Blackheart is one thing. Iron Face.
Some running diary commentary of me confused as to who was Zeke and who was Zeed.
Zeke was deep today.
Zeke was deep today. Am I forgetting who Zeke is?
Well, there was nobody named Zeke, but I thought there was somebody named Zeke. Cringing at some of the acting from the head.
Just get this extended, awkward scene of him not totally being compatible with the body, and it's weird.
Jamming out to the score and remembering that it had moments that I really loved. There's some good stuff I had to ultimately pretty much scrap.
I knew it. I knew there was something with him and birds. I think I filmed that one of my first 5 intros I did for this, but whatever.
I realized I didn't want to do a reaction channel. I wanted to do something that added to the conversation about movies. I have intentions to someday get a doctorate in film, with analysis being my end goal, and I think that the best use of this channel for me is to both flex that muscle and also show people some stuff that I find either amusing or great. Not just movies that I find bad good, but to share in, actors that I'm interested in, stories I'm interested in, movies I think are overlooked. So I don't know. I'm going to probably do some short reviews. I'm probably going to talk about events that I go to. I'm going to do that in this video here, actually. And I have a lot of plans for this channel, and I just want to explore the space, really. A couple other things I realize I made mistakes on. The way that my desk is set up doesn't really offer me a lot of room to put my phone that had my script on it. So I either had like the phone right behind the camera, but I couldn't see it, or I had my script on my computer over here, which obviously if you watched the video you saw, because my eyes were darting over pretty constantly. So I got to figure that out. I also recorded what I did many times. I don't know if I'm just inept when it comes to OBS, but I definitely was having sync issues. So I lost a lot of audio. One of the best versions of the A-roll that I did was completely lost because I didn't get any of the audio. And as I watched more of his films from the latter part of his career, I realized that was going to be a terrible idea because nobody but me. The other big thing that went wrong with my first video was the elephant in the room at this point, I'm sure, watching this one, that I ended up recording the whole thing with my webcam. I had really kind of thought that that was going to work, but very quickly realized it didn't. So I actually bought a lens for my camera that's got a better depth of field to do this kind of recording, and I was all jazzed and excited, and then the battery to my camera died, and I said, that's enough. I'm done. I don't feel like charging it. And I went and proceeded to record the whole thing with my webcam, and it didn't turn out terribly, but I will try not to do that in the future. I think that this looks much better, and if I have the equipment to do it better, I would like to use the equipment to do it better. So I also had problems with OBS because I couldn't figure out how to record the screen, and for some reason I had it in my head that I had to capture the movie off of my screen recording. I don't know why I thought that, so I ended up recording it several times, and either it was 60 FPS, so it wasn't matching my camera, or it came out 25 FPS, which didn't match the actual movie streaming. That was so anyway, I had either sync issues or had the movie sounding slow. It was all kind of funky, and then finally it dawned on me that I could just buy the movie and rip it to my computer, which is what I ultimately did. And I'm glad I did, because then we got the great look at the box art addendum to the first video, which was a lot of people's favorite part of that video, so best laid plans. I did like a final version. I showed it to some friends and family. They gave me really great feedback. I ended up shortening it down to a version that I was pretty happy with, but when I watched it a second time, still realized I'd forgotten to hit some of the points I wanted to hit. Even when I did the final version, which I said, nope, I'm done. This is it. V3 is the one. Let's go. I was watching it with my husband after I published it and realized that I left in some footage that I had meant to remove. So that really bummed me out because I work in post-production, and having two of the same shot accidentally is not what I wanted to do, but oh well. And even then, I added in all of these secondary shots of footage over here. I added in a lot of screen grabs, added in some more commentary in text, which I think was all good additions. I think they added some humor, but I still have some, not punchiness, the opposite of punchiness. I need to have more spacing in between things that I'm saying, but you know, it'll all come in time. The last thing that I really forgot to do, and I'm going to do it now because I don't want it to get lost, is that I forgot to put in a caption to explain that Zeed2's character is not named Zeed2. His name is Zeed2. And I don't know what to do with that information, but I needed to share it. So anyway, I hope that you enjoyed the first video on my channel, which was named by my friend Scott, because he loved that I kept talking about A-roll. And then my name starts with an A, so here we are. I hope you stick around. I'm going to try and do more content. I'm going to probably do content once a week and then some shorts, and we'll see what happens with that and if I keep up with it. But I don't want this whole video to be a post-mortem on my Omega Doom video, which I ultimately ended up being pretty proud of, actually. So I thought that it would be a good time to talk about this week for me. This week in Los Angeles was Beyond Fest, hosted by the American Cinematheque. And I've lived here for 8 years now, I think, and somehow or another, I've actually never attended Beyond Fest. This was my first year, and I cannot tell you all how much fun I had. I started off with the Park Chan-wook 3-film marathon. I wasn't able to score tickets to the premiere of his latest film, or most of the premieres of latest films from people. That ticket on sale was a nightmare, but I did get tickets to see Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance, Lady Vengeance, and The Handmaiden, all films I hadn't seen. And I gotta say, at this point, Park Chan-wook is pretty much can't miss stuff for me. The only film of his that I'm not as into is Stoker, and I kind of want to think that maybe there was some studio interference involved in that one, or maybe just the content didn't match up for me. But regardless, I could say nothing but good things about all three of those films. I was definitely daunted by the idea of sitting in the movie theater for that long. I have tickets to the Arrow Theater's all-night Halloween marathon later this month, so hopefully that's not a problem for me in the future. What else? I went to the premiere of Kevin Williamson's new film, Sick. It's a slasher that takes place in the early days of the pandemic, and there was a Q&A afterward with Kevin Williamson, and he said that he didn't know whether or not it was too soon for that movie or too late, and I think that it's right at the perfect time, honestly. Pandemic's still, you know, going on. It's interesting to look at those early days and see the things that we were doing and think the fact that it was only 2.5 years ago, but it feels so long ago at this point, and I thought that really resonated. The slasher stuff with it is great. It's a really good, I mean, it's Kevin Williamson. I think you know what you're getting into at this point. I also saw the West Coast premiere of Jason Eisner's new film, Kids vs. Aliens. He hasn't made a film since Hobo with a Shotgun, which I'm sure none of you will be surprised to hear is a favorite of mine, considering the lead. This is a R-rated film for kids, so obviously there's a little bit of an issue with getting the intended audience to be able to see the film. But that said, it's you know, a lot of times people say that, oh, this movie captures the 80s, or this movie really like takes you back. And I don't know that that always hits. I mean, I really love the film Super 8, but I don't actually like feel like Super 8 is real, if that makes sense. So Kids versus Aliens, while definitely the plot not all that real, the setting, the way that it's shot, this like just ode to making movies as a kid aspect to it, I loved it. I felt so like what I did as a kid. It made me really excited to make short little movies with my kid as she gets older. It just lit me up inside. I was smiling the whole time. I laughed. It got me. And there was something really magical about the fact that one of the child actors in the film was actually seeing the movie for the first time at that screening, and he had never seen himself on the big screen before. And being a part of that was just, you know, one of those things you don't forget. And then tonight I saw a 3-film marathon of William Shatner movies, starting with Kingdom of the Spiders, The Devil's Reign, and finally the 4K restoration premiere of the film Impulse, which I have to tell you, spoiler, is going to be the subject of my next video. It has to be. That movie was unhinged, and people need to see it. That's all I can say. After those 3 films, there was a Q&A with William Shatner, and that was the source of more stress in my life than I've ever experienced, because at the same time, Don Bluth was doing a Q&A signing photo op at the Pasadena ToonCon, and I had been planning on missing William Shatner all along, and then I bought a bike over the last couple days thanks to Cody Co. and his Cody Trains channel, and now I didn't want to drop the money that was going to be required to go see Don Bluth. I could go into all the reasons why the Don Bluth versus William Shatner decision was hard for me, but I'll pretty much sum it up as this. I grew up watching Don Bluth's movies. They impacted me in a way that I can't express. And in the last 15 years, I've become a huge fan of William Shatner. I legitimately love his music. I love him as an actor. I think Denny Crane is one of my favorite characters of all time. And just the idea that William Shatner went into space, I can't begin to express what that meant to me and what it means for me. And then to hear him in person talk about it was just a little bit, the level of emotion I felt at that was something I hope to someday feel again, but I don't expect to. Yeah, so Impulse, it was kind of cool it was very cool to see it, to hear Shatner talk about it, even though he didn't quite remember making it, but he had some great stuff to talk about, with the actor that plays Oddjob in Goldfinger, and a really neat story that I'm not going to share because they asked us to please not post about it on social media, because they will be including the Q&A as part of the special features on the Blu-ray release, and I'm going to respect that request even if maybe other people don't. So yeah, that was my week in film. I can't wait to share more about Impulse with you all. That'll be coming up, and thank you for subscribing. There's nothing I enjoy more than sharing with people about a movie that really got me, whether or not that movie got me because it was so bad I laughed through the whole thing, or if it was bad but I got something out of it. I think my premier example of that is always the film Teeth. I love sharing about that movie with people. I think it's one of the funniest, stupidest, deepest movies ever made, and sharing that film with other people brings me a lot of joy. Point is that sharing about movies brings me happiness, and I like to share that happiness with other people. So please continue to join me on this ride where we just celebrate film, and if you could like and subscribe to see more, I would really appreciate it. We'll see where this goes. Will it blow up? I doubt it. Do I want it to blow up? Kinda not. I really don't want to read YouTube comments, but as long as there's a nice little pocket of you all out there to share with, we're gonna be in good shape. I just noticed that my daughter destroyed my pops back there. I don't know how I didn't notice the whole time I was recording. I do know how I didn't notice the whole time I was recording. I wasn't wearing my glasses, so you didn't have to see the ring light reflecting in my glasses. But I'm starting to think that the ring light reflecting in my glasses is gonna be my signature move, so whatever. Yeah. She destroyed all my Legos. She knocked them all over. She knocked over my Troll Hunters figures. She's a menace. But I love her. All right. Bye. Also in the theme park are The Head, a former school teacher. A school teacher. No, he's just a school teacher. Okay. Also in the theme park are The Head, a school teacher that the